Hey, Allie,
Hey.
did you know that in 1936, Russia built a computer that ran on water?
Huh?
Yeah. It was just an early analog computer, built in 1936, and it was like it functioned through interconnected pipes and stuff. I don't really know how that works. I don't even know how a modern computer works, so I don't know.
I'm just wondering why they stopped. Is it just they were trying to conserve resources, or they just
It was probably
a down low thing?
this picture of it is humongous, so probably that. I will, for people watching on YouTube, we will insert a photo. This looks kind of crazy. That's that's like a podium,
Oh my
like here, like
god.
tables. So that's like a dresser, like a wardrobe or something.
Imagine having that in your room. You have to have an entire room just to
Just
say
for
it's your
the
computer.
computer room. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I was born in the early 2000s. We had like a family like computer,
Yeah.
like a computer room. Anyway, hey guys, y'all are here too. We're Green Thread, and we're back here with another episode. I'm Alexis, your co-host,
I'm Allie, your host.
and today we're going to be talking about e-waste. So, if you're watching on YouTube, you just heard my little fun fact about a computer that ran off of water, which is insane. If you want to hear more about that, go to our YouTube. But e-waste is really any device that is discarded. So phones, any electronic device that's discarded, phones, computers, headphones, TVs, electronics. So last semester in school, I was in a scientific communication class, and we had to pick a topic that we were kind of passionate about that needs to be advocated for, and that doesn't have a whole lot of advocacy out there for it, and that we need to spread awareness about. So shout out to Professor Clark. Thank you for pushing me to do that. And it's really awesome. And I'm going to link my paper below if you want to read it. But in my research and in my studies, I did a survey on the Georgia Highlands campus of 52 students, and I found that most of them were unaware of e-waste or what it even was. They had no clue, really. They had never heard the term before. They didn't really investigate much. I asked questions such as, what type of electronics do you own? How often do you buy these electronics? What do you do with your old ones? Just to get kind of some data about what people my age were doing and if they knew about it. So yeah, like I said, I surveyed 52 people. 92% of them lacked awareness. I believe that'd be 48 people.
Wow.
So imagine if I did the entire campus or the entire school or the entire state of Georgia, or, anything larger than that, even on a small scale. That's a pretty big number. And I have all the sources that I'm going to mention, or if there's something mentioned, it'll be in my paper linked below. All the references I used are linked there. But according to the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, UNITAR is the acronym, only 22% of 60 million metric tons is formally collected and recycled. So that means that even if you send something off to be recycled, or if you drop it off to be recycled, or if a company says they're going to, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes they may say they will, and it just, it costs too much money to actually have somebody come and transport these electronics or to export those electronics. Sometimes it just costs too much. All of these things, everything costs money. So sometimes it's a little bit too much to the company to, instead of doing the right thing and just spending a little bit more money, they're like, oh, well, we'll just put this in the trash with everything else, or put this in the landfill, or, who cares? We care.
Yeah.
A lot. And so yeah, that was a pretty jarring statistic. That's 60 million metric tons. That's a lot.
Yeah. I can't even picture that.
I know it's almost arbitrary. You can't even think of it. It's like $60 million. Like, what? It's insane. And with the rise of AI, this is kind of why this topic caught my attention, because we are living in such a digital age.
Yep.
That, I mean, we're using technology for everything, and everybody is starting to use AI for everything. And there's more. I feel like every single day I see something using AI, or something different using AI, or an ad that was made using AI. So we're not going to escape this. So instead of trying to, I guess, defeat it, we're going to defeat it by educating and by spreading awareness and doing what we can, because we're always going to be living with this. I know we've mentioned it in many episodes previously that AI is not going to go away. Technology is not going to go away. It's only going to change form. So we just might as well educate ourselves as best as we can. So AI has been projected to increase those complications with how we're going to deal with the problem of e-waste and what we're going to do with all these parts, and the toxicity of them too. Is a huge issue, and why you should really, really care is because in electronics there are really toxic and even carcinogenic metals and chemicals. And if you don't know what carcinogenic means, that means cancer causing. So chemicals like lead, mercury, cadmium, those can all be found in circuit boards, in switches, things like that. Even certain types of screens have those types of chemicals and elements in them, which are very harmful for us. They can be really, really harmful for our skin, our eyes, our kidneys, our nervous system, our immune system, our digestive system, especially mercury. That has been listed on my source that I'll provide to you, that is very toxic. It's one of it's of high health concern. Mercury is for humans, and it's harmful for the environment too. There's a process called biomagnification, and that is where different levels of something will just keep traveling throughout the food web. So if mercury has entered into the system of a fish, let's say, and then something else eats that fish, that mercury is only going to be magnified as it's eaten going down the food chain. And that could eventually lead to us too. If you eat seafood, at least that's the common examples with fish. But it could happen with other animals too, and things like lead and cadmium, other toxic metals, they can leach into groundwater, they can leach into the soil, potentially getting into our drinking water and into our crops. So it's just really, really bad all around. So that's like your really doom and gloom part of the episode right there is everything that I just listed, because it can lead to horrible endings for workers in e-recycling facilities, for us. At the end of the cycle of this, we start with the e-waste, it goes to the recyclers potentially, or goes to the environment, or both. And then eventually it's going to come back to us, whether we like it or not, it's going to come back to bite us.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to get into too, is like how people are like, well, I mean, yeah, it's great to recycle, but how does it really affect me? And this can go for not just electronics, but like any recyclables. I have the uncommon or unfortunate fate that we were just discussing of like, you think that they're going to these recycling facilities and they're actually getting disposed of correctly, but then the manufacturers and or the like recycling centers are like, no, we can't afford that, so sorry, they're gonna go into the ocean or into the ground anyways. And so but just being mindful of where electronics are being disposed of yourself is important enough, in this cycle to eliminate as many million metric tons that we were talking about. So that one can also be magnified using the science words into the bigger picture of like, if everybody is knowledgeable on e-waste, then I think that would, dent or skew at least the results of what you're finding in your resources.
Definitely. And another thing that I'd found while I was doing my research was that a lot of e-waste that is sent to, if I go drop mine off at wherever, X recycling company, most of the time these electronics are actually exported out of the United States. Which is very, very interesting, because then the blame technically can't fall on us or our government or our companies, the American companies. It falls on the third world country that it goes to. Like I said, specifically in my paper, you'll find all the specifics, and we can even insert some quotes. If you're watching us on YouTube, we will put those on the screen for you. But when you send these electronics to third world companies to be recycled, these third world companies, we probably could have the funding, but we don't have the funding to even recycle properly. They're definitely not going to have the funding to recycle properly and to be educated on what these materials are doing to them. So a lot of the times in third world countries, they will burn these electronics and just do what they can to get rid of them. And when you burn things like I said, mercury, lead, cadmium, you can only imagine what that's releasing into the atmosphere. So that's another environmental problem stacked on top of it, is this is going into the air.
Yep. And not only like the environmental aspect, but also like it's important to partake in e-waste just because these REEs or rare earth elements are used in those different motors, even
Mm-hmm.
wind turbines and electronic vehicles, EVs, and those will be, recycled back in, or reintroduced back into the cycle. So it's not just about like what is being done when they're actually being processed or burned, but it's also like what they're doing when they're seeping into the soil or going down versus going up. And that kind of impact the microorganisms, macroorganisms, and everything under the sun after that, because technically we plant, things into the ground, and so that can go into plants and then we eat them. So there's so many different things that can connect them. And then I was like, okay, this is a lot of sad information. A lot
Yes,
of like,
very,
a lot of
very.
like, oh my God, so what am I going to do? Like, it's a matter of you not being in control. And I think a lot of us struggle with hearing so many like I guess depressing news because we don't know, especially when it comes to the environment, because we don't know how to control it.
Mhm.
Because some of the things, like you were explaining with the third world, or third party, should I say, companies that are recycling for us, like we can't control what they're going to do, but we can only control how we dispose of our own materials. But I did find a really cool statistics from two people in Skyline University College, Isa and Inarat, and I can link their paper as well. And they did a study trying to determine whether or not genetic diversity had any impact on e-waste management. And I was like, wow, okay, so there's like humanity rolls into this as well, and like how different people of different like origins, backgrounds, diversity really plays into how like e-waste management can happen within corporations. And they found, technically their study focused on relationships between female leaders and them being either executive levels, and how that impacted e-waste reduction. And a lot of it found that while the factors were influenced by like firm size and industry carbon intensity, it suggested there was a positive relationship between female CEOs, and they increased the corporate's environmental initiatives. So there's a lot more, and that happens even with climate change. As a broader topic, like women tend to be not only a more marginalized community within climate change impacts, but they're also apparently ones that take the most initiative to, manage things like this, where the consumer or the individual feels more powerless, but those different like female characters are stepping into the CEO spots, and they're taking initiative, and they're like, hey, you need to do this. This is harmful and we have to get to the bottom of it. And I'm like, at least women run the world, you know?
Okay, girl bosses. Okay. Who run the world? Girls. We do.
Period.
Um, and yeah, like Allie was saying, this can be a very depressing topic and it may feel a little bit out of your hands, but this is how you can help. You can help by really just taking care of your products and using them as long as you can. Please,
Yes.
I am looking you directly in the eyes and asking you to keep your iPhone until it literally stops working instead of buying the iPhone 16 when it comes out. Trust me, I want a pink phone too. Y'all know I'm Barbie girl. But I still have my 13 from almost 3 years ago now. It still works amazingly. The back is cracked. Ignore that. Don't look at it. The case covers it. But use your electronics and to their full potential. I know it's also a little bit more difficult because I feel like now products are not necessarily made to last as long.
Oh, no.
Not at all. I still have my MacBook that I got when I was entering high school, and I am about to finish college. So things can last as long as you take care of them, take care of their batteries, make sure you're charging them correctly, make sure you're storing them correctly. Things like that. Make sure you're taking care of your video game consoles. Listen, y'all, I had my Xbox 360 till I was in high school. That was way out of style, and I still had it. It still worked perfectly fine. I promise you'll be fine without the newest products. So please, please just take care of your electronics and keep them until they will no longer run anymore.
It's like fast fashion, but electronic version.
Exactly. And it also saves your wallet too.
Yes.
Because why would you upgrade your electronic when you don't have to? You could save that money and buy something else with it. Buy something else more sustainable with it.
It really does save you some money
It
if
does.
you don't continuously buy the new product. And not to mention, a lot of the new products are marketed to seem like they work better when they actually don't. Like, I think the older phones work longer than the newer phones will.
Yeah, and as we have said multiple times, and I will always stand on this hill, is that everything is about money, even though it shouldn't be. So I think that plays into a lot of why things don't last as long, is because an older iPhone or an older phone, just in general, may have lasted you years and years and years with its hardware. But now we are on the iPhone 16, and we have gotten from the iPhone 3G to the 16 just in my lifetime alone. So that's pretty insane. And I feel like technology just whizzes by us, and companies are constantly flaunting their new products right in front of our faces. And I think that has a lot to do with why they don't last as long. They just want our money.
No, they do. And when you're going, say you really do have, like, I don't know, like we were talking about Xbox 360. I have the Xbox One, and it's still, even though she sounds like a jet engine all the time, she still works.
Yes.
But like, I know a lot of people were talking about how their X360s weren't working really well. So if you really do get to the point where you've just like burnt out the motherboard and she's just dead, there are different ways, there are different places you can contact in order to correctly, or more sustainably dispose of your e-waste. Earth 911 is a big one. eStewards.org always has resources for you as well. One that is for specifically batteries is called Call to Recycle. Around me, there's one called a bulb place. I can't remember it's like bulb something. And it's like 5 minutes on the road, and they do batteries. They do I think MacBooks as well. They do like computers. They do phones. They even amp them up, say there just needs a change of something, then they'll do that too. But they are the people we always give our old printers to, because that's the one thing. A lot of the times these newer electronics are more bulky, and they're going to the flat screens over time. So like old stuff, our old printer is super chunky. That thing is probably like 20 pounds. And to like think of that ending up in a landfill almost like breaks my heart, because that's so much e-waste in just that one product because of how big it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you live in North Georgia or the metro Atlanta area, I have found a whole list of places. I actually put together the list myself. I found some places that you can trust here locally to recycle your electronics properly. So I will link that down below, because it's a pretty good list. It's at least maybe 10 places. So it's pretty extensive. So I'll link that below. If you live in the area, then definitely go check them out and go there instead of throwing them away or going to a place that you can't necessarily trust. And another solution that I have thought of, there's only 25 U.S. states that have laws regarding e-waste and regarding workers and their safety around electronic waste. So call your lawmakers. If you live in one of the other 25 states that don't have anything regarding e-waste, call them up. Tell them, hey, we care about this. The rise of electronics is alarming with the amount of waste that's going to rise with it. So just, if you feel called to do that, please do.
Yeah, your voice matters, and calling representatives for any problem, even if it's politics versus this, like it always matters to contact your local representatives. Because when I was looking into that and found the 25 states, Georgia's not one of them, and that made me really sad. I was like, and to look at them, it's like either northeast or like really far west. So there's not many Midwest places or any like middle ground, and that's just like why are these states not tackling this problem too? Because if they did, then that would probably reduce the overall outcome that we're finding.
Absolutely. And that's what we're all about, making these small changes everywhere across the nation, across the globe. Shout out to our Midwest listeners. Call your lawmakers, please. But make these small changes and we're going to change the world.
Absolutely. And with that, pull on that green thread, keep listening in, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.